Nate Beeler worked in Washington for quite some time and was fortunate enough to get the job in Columbus, Ohio a little bit ago. He worked for the Washington Examiner. He's really one of the outstanding talents and young talents in our field. His cartoons have appeared on CNN, MSNBC, and Fox. That seems like a good little cartoon trick, MSNBC and Fox. Time, Newsweek, blah, 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 everywhere you can have stuff. Syndicated by Kegel Cartoons, graduated from American University, won the Berryman Award, the Thomas Nass Award, the John Loker Award, and was once named, this is really impressive, a pinhead by Bill O'Reilly. And this is him here.
Thanks. I thought it was apropos that David Horsey was speaking before me because he sort of is the perfect example of what I wanted to talk about today, which is the power of art in editorial cartoons. Because editorial cartoons are artists. We're journalists and artists. And a lot of us started out drawing cartoons for our student newspaper in high school. And so we got that introduction to journalism, but we were also interested in comic strips and comic books, and we probably took art classes in high school, and so we've always had this mixture of being an artist and a journalist. And actually I was talking with somebody today who said that there's three aspects of cartoonists, and that's the artist, the journalist, and the comedian. Some of them are better than others, like Joel Pett, obviously. But I was always drawn to the cartoonists who have very dynamic artwork, because I guess that's the power of cartoons. They are able to grab a reader through a dynamic image and bring them in close so that they can get their message across to you. And so, as a journalist, we have a daily deadline, and we have to come up with a piece of art every single day. And I struggle with it daily, as probably everybody does in here who has a job drawing cartoons. And I just wanted to go through my process and my decision-making on art, because it does hold the key to the power of the cartoon. Anyways, I just want to go through some cartoons here and point them out. This is one of the cartoons from 2008, when after Obama and Congress passed the stimulus, and you have a guy labeled Jobs falling asleep on the floor as a giant cappuccino machine is blorping and wheezing and gurgling and hissing, dripping out stimulus. And this cartoon really only has one actual word in it, and that's drip. It relies on the image, the sound, the words like blorp, wheeze, and gurgle. I mean, those are really they're not communicating anything other than sound, and it's through the way that they're drawn. And I wanted to imply action through the way that I drew it. And then this is a cartoon was drawn at the 40th anniversary of the first man on the moon, Neil Armstrong. So it says, "One giant leap 40 years later," and I just wanted to imply how far we have to go since that historic day, that we are no closer to the moon in many ways than we were the day before that Neil Armstrong stepped on there. And just wanted to wordlessly convey that through an image. This one came out after President Obama decided not to take up the debt commission's recommendations on how to tackle the deficit, and just a simple image of something flying straight through the president's head can communicate a lot more than me having to write 1,000 words on it, so to speak. And I did this when bin Laden died. And this is one of the things that editorial cartoons can do a really good job at, and that's projecting projecting a feeling on a day like this where people are feeling avenged, or on 9/11 when people are feeling hurt, and just communicate that with readers. And usually those cartoons are completely wordless. They rely on the image. And this is one big word, but drawn as an image to just try to be striking. And this cartoon was about the Martin Luther King Memorial, and it says, I was a drum major for justice, peace, and righteousness. And the guy is saying, what a fitting tribute to the values that help America great, as the woman next to him is looking at a little plaque that says, Made in China. And I wanted, with this cartoon, to have this big, bold image, very fitting tribute to Martin Luther King, and draw the reader down towards that Made in China plaque. And this was drawn in the 2008 campaign. Which looming calamity shall we debate first? Afghanistan, Iran, or maybe something a little closer to home, as the economy is crashing down behind them. And once again, the image helps compound the message, augment the message by showing the ruin of the economy behind them and how dire the situation actually was. This I drew when Mubarak was dethroned, if you will, in Egypt. And the label of the cartoon is Reclaimed by the Desert, but I really didn't even need to have any words at all in this, as my editor told me afterwards. I just wanted to show essentially a sea change, or a dune change in Egyptian politics and in Middle Eastern politics there. This is a cartoon, wordless, just Icarus, and it's Obama with the cylinder scandal. This I drew in response to Ali Farzad, a Syrian cartoonist, getting his hands broken by a group of pro-Assad thugs. And it has his hands bandaged up, and the blood is trickling down, forming the image of Assad with devil horns. Not exactly subtle, but it's the kind of cartoon where you want the image to inspire an emotional response in the reader. This I drew. Being in Washington, I was able to actually go out to McPherson Square and see the Occupy protests up close, firsthand. And they put a tent of dreams over top of the statue in McPherson Square, and they've been occupying it for months and months and months. And I just wanted to try to get across to the reader the feeling of being in that camp. And so you have the tent of dreams there. And next to it, sitting on the park bench, is the National Park Police, who is dreaming of sheep jumping over a fence, counting sheep in his sleep. And this I did this spring in response to the Time breastfeeding cover. And it says, Reality, Attachment Parenting. And I just wanted to respond to that story. It's not about breastfeeding. It's about what moms have to go through every single day, and what kids have to deal with nowadays. And that's big gulps and fast food and SpongeBob and Xbox. And there's a lot of things that I'm trying to get across here, and just trying to do it with a single image. This is at the end of Newt Gingrich's campaign. Word bubble coming from the city is, so much for that campaign, Newt's finally achieved orbit. And then this cartoon I did recently about the Curiosity rover on Mars, and it says, it's thinking to itself, finally, after 350 million miles, I've escaped the 2012 campaign. It's right behind him. It says forward, and Romney 2012 coming from behind the UFO. And as I'm drawing on deadline, I'm trying to think of a lot of things. And nowadays, editorial cartoonists have to think about color. Before, it was just black and white. And so we've built into our process a way to get color on deadline. And we use Photoshop and It's very fast, and it can be frustrating to learn at first, but after a while you get it down, and you just build your cartoons with color in mind from the start. So I just wanted to show my color process very quickly, and I'll do it on this cartoon. So when you draw your cartoon, well, at least for me, I do the black and white first. And I do that just on regular Bristol board, and I use pens and ink and brushes, and I scan that up into the computer. And I put it into Photoshop like that. And what I like doing is sort of like the paint by numbers in a way. I've got the line art on the top, and then I'll throw in a shade for the background. So I've got the sky as a layer beneath the line art. And then I'll start just coloring stuff in, paint by numbers. So I paint in the ground in just a solid color. And then I'll paint in the Mars rover that has a couple different colors in it, different sections. Paint in the alien and the UFO and forward sign. And then finally the word bubble. And I like to get a little painterly at times, and I like to think that it's painterly with my color. So I start building layers on top of that to add a little bit of texture. I don't know if you can really see that on there, but you give a little modeling to the ground and a little more definition to it. So that's another layer on top of that. And you can just build upon what you have. And I select the paint by numbers areas before and add a little bit more definition, this time to the Mars rover. Then I add a little bit more definition to the other elements that I colored in this case to the alien and the UFO. And color in some clouds. And I think at the end of this cartoon I got rid of a little bit of the, yeah, there we go. I got rid of some of the line art. And it's starting to look like a final colored cartoon. And it's just layering on top of each other. I think Disney did this in some ways. It's sort of like Disney cells. Have a painted background and then a clear plastic, like a piece of clear plastic paper, I guess, and cell. And they paint on that and then overlay it on top of the background. That's sort of what I'm doing here. Just many different layers with the solid colors and then the gradation. And it seems like it takes a really long time some days. It depends on the amount of elements in the cartoon, but other days it's fairly quick, and this one was fairly quick. But I wanted to, with this cartoon, I just wanted to evoke the feeling of being on another planet and draw people's eyes to the rover. So added the little clouds go into the rover, and a nice reddish tone all throughout, and that's the finished cartoon. So, art on a deadline.